Good morning and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you today on our final Wisdom Wednesday for 2024, brought to you by Academy of York. It's great to have you on the line today and great to have this opportunity to reflect on the year and to really get a sense of how we can finish off the last few weeks or days of 2024 on a very strong note. My name is Val Leeming, and it is awesome to be with you this Wednesday morning. I'd love for you to please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and if you can see my screen. And I would also love to ask you to please thank you, Jazan, for that thumbs up. So glad you can hear and see me. Good morning, Promise. Good morning, Bongi. Good morning, Nwabisa. Good morning, Cindy. It's great to have you with us today. Good morning, Ntando. Welcome. Good morning, Tamelo. Good morning, Sister Happiness. It's great to have you with us. Today, we're talking about how to finish off the year on a strong and positive note. And as I woke up this morning, I started to sort of calculate how many days of work I have left and how much there is to still get done. And I even went down into thinking about how many hours I have left in order to be as efficient and productive as I can possibly be as a wife, as a mom, as a student, as a lecturer, and really try to think about that. So I'm excited about exploring this topic with you all today. And so you're very, very welcome. As with all of the Academy of York sessions, I just want to let you know that the session is going to be recorded. So a very warm welcome to all of those who are live streaming and joining us online. We're also really hoping that it will be as interactive as possible. So in order to make it interactive, while we work in this virtual world, and I'm based in Joburg, but some of you might be in Limpopo, Cape Town, Durban, Pretoria, we really would encourage you to engage with us either on the chat, simply by popping in a note, and I'm joined by my colleague Pumla this morning, or alternatively, you can engage with us on Menti polling. You might never have used Menti. It's a very clever tool to use. All you need to do is simply click on that QR code, either using your phone or alternatively go to the chat, and you will see in the chat there is a link to Menti. And we're asking you, how are you feeling today? Pumla, how are you feeling today as my co-host and colleague? How are you feeling? Would you say you're feeling positive, negative, or kind of neutral on this Wednesday morning?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Val. Happy Wednesday. I'm feeling energized this morning.
Awesome, Pumla. It's so good to have you on the line with me today and for us to discuss ending the year off on a strong and positive note. And so today we're really going to be unpacking this concept of what is called year-end fatigue and some of the challenges and what is the simple framework you can use. So three-step framework. So if you can say 1, 2, and 3 or A, B, and C, hopefully you're really going to be able to take those 3 key nuggets and apply them in your own life. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a reflection today. So sometimes in life, we're so busy, we never get a chance to simply sort of push that pause button and calm ourselves down and reflect. So I'm excited about doing that reflection. And then we're also going to be looking at the sort of Eisenhower model of how we can prioritize our tasks, how we can prioritize what we need to get done. So it's certainly going to be a busy day, and we look forward to engaging with you. So while we do that, I'd love for you to perhaps think about and consider our second Menti polling question. And perhaps, Pumla, if you could share with me, if you were to use one word to describe 2024, what would that word be? And how would you describe your year to date in one word?
In one word, I'd say my 2024 was fruitful.
Fruitful. That's an
Yeah.
incredibly positive word. I would say that fruitful obviously means you've accomplished some of your goals and dreams, and that you've sort of perhaps you're ready to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Perhaps your year has not been as fruitful if you are joining us online. We'd love to hear from you. Either pop us a message in the chat function or engage with us on Menti. Somebody is saying on the Menti chat it was perhaps disorientating, perhaps it was tough, perhaps it was challenging. I know that financially for this year has been challenging for many people. And perhaps you, like me, are sort of feeling that year-end fatigue. Somebody else is saying they're feeling drained. It was challenging. It was daunting. Perhaps it didn't go as you expected, and plans seldom do. I think I would use the word roller coaster to describe my year, because it certainly was fast paced, just like a roller coaster. There were highs and lows. At some points I was screaming, at other points I was laughing, but it was certainly a hell of a ride. But I definitely am counting down the sort of sleeps to the end of the year and asking myself, I've got so much to do. How am I going to get it all done? And I'm reminded by this incredible quote by Muhammad Ali when he says, don't count the days, make your days count. So even though I've got around about 18 days left of work days left to the end of the year, and I'm aware that that's around about 144 hours of work, I'm focused on not just counting down the days, but I want to make each day count. But this concept of fatigue is incredibly, incredibly common. And a lot of times students say to me, I'm just exhausted. I'm fatigued. I'm tired. So let's start by watching the short video. Pumla, if you wouldn't mind, and those of you online, give me a thumbs up if you can hear this short video on this concept of being tired. Let's take a listen to this. So, are you feeling tired or are you feeling deep fatigue? And I love the concept of your sort of energy levels, your battery, as it were, is on that sort of empty. And very often I sort of look at my phone and say, how much battery life do I still have? Emotionally, do you ever sort of look at how much battery life do you have? Are you plugging yourself in? Are you taking time to recharge yourself at the end of every day? And so while there are medical reasons for being fatigued, there are also sort of other elements that can impact our level of tiredness, overall tiredness and exhaustion. It could be physical fatigue, it could be emotional overload, it could be you're tired of making decisions, perhaps you're mentally exhausted because you've been spending a lot of time and energy working on your studies. Perhaps you're feeling this sort of pressure of year-end syndrome. Very often I sort of see that as, we think that we've got to get everything done before the end of the year, before the start of popping the cork and sort of celebrating the new year, 2025. We think that, we've got to get it all done. Perhaps it is the pressures in terms of our environment. Perhaps there's a lot of work pressure. A lot of our students both work and study at the same time. So it could be an environmental pressure, or it could be even social pressures. Perhaps thinking about your year-end functions at work. It could be social pressures with family. It could be financial pressures. I know that Black Friday is just around the corner and people are already thinking about spending their hard-earned money. Pumla, can you relate to any of these sort of elements of year-end fatigue?
Definitely. I think I've got sort of like a physical fatigue, you know. I can feel that it's the end of the year, but I'm pushing until we get our break.
Absolutely. You sort of making those days count. And Sister
Yeah.
Happiness says, I feel like I need a holiday, but it's normal. It's the end of the year. I'm ready for that. So how do we then overcome this? And I would definitely remind yourself that this feeling of perhaps being overwhelmed or like there's just too much to do is real. But any task, any challenge, it needs to be broken down into what we call bite-sized chunks. I'm often reminded of that sort of, how do you eat an elephant? Bite by bite. How do you finish your studies? One chapter at a time. How do you lose weight? 1 kilogram at a time. How do you run a marathon? Put on your tackies and run 500 meters, or in my case, 100 meters. If you simply do something and learn to rest and not just quit, because so often we give up on our goals because we don't remind ourselves that we're making progress. Every step that we're making is a step in the right direction. And those micro wins are vitally, vitally important to keep us motivated along the way. So the fact that you've invested an hour of your time to join us today, that's a micro win. That is a win in terms of you saying, I want to be able to finish the year strong. I want to be able to learn how I can do this. And I am ready to get started. I'm ready to make that progress. Another great tip is a very simple, and I love the fact that it's free, is you can get a little bit of vitamin D, not from Dis-Chem or Clicks, simply by getting a bit of sunshine. Going outside, spending 5 minutes outside, perhaps having a lunch break outside. Sunlight definitely improves our mood. It makes us feel more awake and it makes us feel better. It lifts us up. And the next thing to do is really to start to move. Now, I sit at my desk all day long. And definitely, I know that when I move, I get a bit more energy. But even though I'm sitting at my desk, I can still move. So I can roll my neck, I can give a big stretch, I can stand up, I can do that. And when you move, your body releases these endorphins, these feel good hormones. And so every single time, despite working at my desk all day long, I try and get up and simply stretch. And I'm trying to carve out time in my day in terms of being able to walk and be able to move, because I know that when I move, I feel better. And I guess the opposite of moving is relaxing and sleeping. And it is vitally important when we're feeling tired to prioritize good sleep and to be able to have a good bedtime routine. My children are now sort of all grown up. My youngest is finishing matric this year, and I cannot tell you when they were little how important their bedtime routine was. And it sort of set up the calmness for the evening, in that they knew it was the dinner, then it was bath time, then it was story time, then it was bedtime. And as they got older, I would have to sort of be stricter in terms of screens. And as an adult, I'm still encouraging them to have a healthy bedtime routine. Definitely, blue screens are not healthy at night. For me, a nice warm bath or a shower is vitally important. Perhaps a little bit of lavender oil. Before I go to sleep, I often spend 5 minutes. It literally takes 5 minutes just journaling and thinking about my day, thinking about what am I grateful for? And those few minutes of practice definitely enables me to have a good night's sleep. So if you're feeling tired and overwhelmed, I'm hoping these free, simple tips are really going to help you re-energize yourself, re-energize your mental and physical batteries in order for you to get through this year and finish it strong. Also vitally important is to really think about what do you have to do? What are the things that you need to have your focus on? I love that quote. Where focus goes, energy flows. Are you overcomplicating things? Are there too many things on your to-do list? What do you need to perhaps reduce and perhaps simplify in order to amplify your success? And so I really encourage you to do that. So I'd love for you to perhaps think about or perhaps share on the chat or on Menti. And Puma, I'd love you to perhaps think about what is the one energy booster that you're gonna commit to the others on this chat today, on this Wisdom Wednesday, because sometimes when we verbalize it and we say we're going to do A, B, and C, we know that we're going to stick to it. So what is going to be the one thing you commit to doing in terms of boosting your personal energy levels this week?
This week, I commit to finish the task that I've set out for myself because I know that there's a reward at the end. So if I finish everything that I've set out, that I've planned, I know that I'll get rewarded with finishing those tasks. So this is what I'm committing to for this week.
So you've got a reward that's coming your way, but in order
Yes.
to keep your energy levels up, what are you going to do? Is it going to be sleep? Is it going to be sunshine? Is it going to be movement? Is it perhaps going to be eating healthily? Nontando says on the chat, I'm going to have enough rest after hours. What are you going to
I think
do,
for me,
Pamela?
I think for me, it's eating healthily because what I've realized is that what you put in and what you eat also affects your mood. It affects your energy levels. So I want to commit to eating healthier. And if I can just do that a week at a time, I believe I'll get where I need to be.
Awesome. So you're going to look at what are you putting in order to give yourself the energy. I love that. So for me, one of the things I'm going to commit to this week is I'm going to commit to switching off my Facebook notifications and social media notifications. And I'm not going to allow myself to sort of get trapped in that time, especially because it's my habit, identified that habit at night when I'm supposed to be relaxing and getting ready for bed. I sometimes then find myself scrolling or looking at stuff, and it really isn't healthy for me. Somebody else is saying they're going to use a bit of that sunshine, take a workout after work, eating healthy meals, stepping away from electronics. So thanks for committing to that. One of the other exercises that you can do in order to really finish the year strong is to spend some time in self-reflection, and really having that quality time with yourself where you can think about, evaluate. You're not doing stuff. You're simply being in the moment, thinking about what you've accomplished, what you still want to accomplish. And it's almost like that date time with yourself, really thinking about where you're going. And so have you spent some time thinking about, in terms of all the areas of your life, perhaps your student life, your studies that you're doing, your mental health, your physical health, your personal growth, your environment, your relationships, your career, finances. How are you doing? What have you managed to achieve? What are you proud of this year? And so I'd love us to spend just a couple of minutes doing a self-reflection exercise. So I'd like you to commit to being part of this journey. So give me a thumbs up if you're ready to do a little self-reflection exercise. I'm going to encourage you to sit back, get into a comfortable position. Okay, Jazan is ready. She's giving me thumbs up. Nontando's giving me thumbs up. Anna, are you with us? Tumelo, Sister Happiness, are you ready to do a little bit of a reflection exercise? Because so often we say we're going to do it and then we don't. So for this reflection exercise, I'm going to turn off my camera. I'm going to ask you all to sit back in a comfortable position. I'd like you to take a deep breath and let's start our reflection. So as we start this reflection, I'd like you to think back to the start of this year. Take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Take another deep breath in and a slow breath out. As your breathing begins to slow down, allow your mind to slow down. Take a step back in time and think back to the beginning of the year, 11 months ago. Think back to your hopes, your goals, your dreams, and your aspirations along the way. As you think back to the beginning of this year, think back to how you started out the year. Where were you at the beginning of the year? What were you doing? How did you feel? What were your thoughts? As we move through the months of the year, January into February, March, and April, I want you to think about, what are you proud of? What are you happy about having succeeded in accomplishing? What challenges or hurdles did you perhaps overcome on your journey this year? I want you to picture those moments clearly and allow yourself to feel gratitude for your efforts and your resilience. Sit in the moment and simply breathe in those feelings of accomplishment and gratitude, and breathe out those moments of being challenged where you had to dig deep in order to continue. As we continue to breathe in and breathe out, I want you to imagine the year ahead. Imagine the start of 2025. Is this going to be the year where you thrive? Imagine yourself starting the beginning of the year feeling energized, motivated, mentally calm and clear. As you think about beginning the year with this fresh energy and motivation, I want you to imagine or picture one thing you would love to achieve or experience. Think of that picture. It could be perhaps you graduating and completing your studies. It could be all dressed up in your graduation gown and walking across the stage to collect your certificate. It could be hearing the crowd clapping for you, applauding your success. It might be an experience like perhaps achieving a positive feedback from your manager or your supervisor. It could be earning an increase or a bonus. It could be growing in your career. It could be getting a big hug from your daughter, your son, your sibling, who's simply saying to you, well done, I'm proud of you. Now, as we imagine ourselves accomplishing that goal and achievement or experience, ask yourself, what steps would you have to take in order to get there? I want you to imagine yourself having to actually do your work or your assignment. I'm wanting you to imagine yourself getting to work 30 minutes earlier and perhaps using your time productively at work, or drafting an email to your manager where you share your accomplishments, or having a conversation. What are the steps that you need to take in order to achieve your goal? Let's continue to breathe in and exhale. Breathe in and exhale. Bring your attention into this moment. How are you feeling right now? Are you grounded? Are your feet both firmly on the ground? Feel the air around you. Feel the steady rhythm of your breath. How are you feeling? Are you feeling warm or cold? Are you feeling peaceful and calm? Remind yourself in this present moment that it is healthy to pause, to breathe, and to be in the moment, right where you are right now. Because as we bring ourselves and we anchor ourselves into the present, we have clarity and calmness in terms of what we want to do, what we want to be, and where we are right now, and the work we need to do in order to get there. Let's take another deep breath in and out. Perhaps slowly roll your neck and your shoulders and open your eyes gently. So I'm hoping you found that short exercise of reflection useful and handy, and really gave you an opportunity to think about the year and the last 11 months and your journey along the way. And hopefully also gave you an opportunity to really picture the future and your goals and your dreams and desires, as well as having an opportunity to break things down and not to feel quite so overwhelmed in terms of everything you have to do. So I'd love you to really consider the benefits of reflection. And I guess if we're wanting to have different outcomes, we have to make different choices. And when we spend time reflecting, we remind ourselves of the possibilities. We're able to spend some time imagining the possibilities and what the outcomes could lead to. And I'd love you to just perhaps think about, what are your career possibilities? Now that you're studying, what doors potentially will be opened to you? And on the whole, do you feel like you focus on problems or possibilities? Do you spend time imagining the possibilities? Pumla, In your life, would you say you focus on problems or possibilities more? Because inevitably, I know that we all have problems in our lives. Would you say that on the whole, you focus on the problems or perhaps on the opportunities?
I think on my side, I focus really on the opportunities and possibilities and also the solutions instead of focusing on the problem at hand. Because if you focus solely on the problem, you are not going to get any solutions without looking at what are the possibilities to solve the problem that you have. So for me, it's possibilities, it's solutions, it's what can we do now that we have realized that this is the problem.
Absolutely, because we all have problems, if we're honest about it. Relationship problems, work problems and challenges, perhaps study challenges, perhaps relationship issues, financial problems. We all have these problems. And I guess if you're sitting and you're thinking and perhaps counting down to payday and you're thinking, I don't have money or I don't earn enough, that could be a problem. Thinking about what can I do to earn more would be looking at the possibility. Or perhaps thinking, I don't have enough time today, thinking, well, what could I do to perhaps create more time? And I'm not saying you're a magician and you're able to make a 24-hour day, 25-hour day, simply eating that bar one, for example, but perhaps creating time and space. Or perhaps if you're thinking of the problem, I really don't like the people that I work with, or I don't like the work that I do, perhaps focusing on the possibility, well, what parts of my job am I really good at? So I guess it's important to ask yourself, do you focus more on the problems or do you look at the possibilities? So it is definitely, if you're sitting with problems, we all have problems, and we feel burdened by problems, I'd love for you to see whether you can reframe those problems into potential possibilities. And perhaps if you're doing that, you are creating space for you to solve that. So I'd love for you to perhaps give us a thumbs up. Do you tend to think of the problem? So those of you who are online, if you can engage on Menti, great, which is completely obviously anonymous. You can engage on Menti. Do you think of the problem or do you like finding solutions or perhaps you're unsure? For those of you who are not able to do it on Menti, let's be brave. Let's be brave. Do you tend to think of the problem? Let's be honest. If you do think of the problem, simply raise your hands. And sometimes I'll be honest, I do see the problems. I will wake up in the morning and think, you know what? There's just too many problems and I don't know whether I'm going to solve them. Jazan is saying, I'm with you on that. You're brave, Jazan. Nontando saying that. Jabile is saying that. Lizelle saying that. It's okay to say, I tend to initially think of problems before I can get to finding a solution. So thank you for your bravery. You're not alone. Many of us think about that. And now I'd like to ask you, I'm going to lower my hand. How many of you immediately like to find solutions that you love? People come to you with a problem, you're like, oh, I've got the solution for you. This is the solution. Perhaps you don't even listen to the problem in full before you've already thought of the solution. How many of you would say you are natural? You like finding those solutions and you like to be able to solve problems. Once again, I'm going to encourage you to raise your hand. So Anna, I can see your hand raised. Well done. You're an immediate solution. You like finding solutions. And if you're unsure, that's also okay. Lizelle, I can see your hand raised. Awesome. So many of us are either problems or solution solvers. And I guess it's about, tapping into our imagination. If we think back to our childhood, how often we would perhaps have those pretend games and we would find ourselves pretending or spending time in creative pursuits. And so often as adults, we don't allow ourselves to dream or to imagine the opportunities. And those words, just imagine, are incredibly, incredibly powerful. So for example, your goal is to buy a home. I want you to use the words just imagine and to imagine yourself getting the keys to your property, whether it's a flat, whether it's a townhouse, whether it's a house. I want you to imagine yourself opening the door and walking into the home that belongs to you. How would that feel? Or perhaps your goal is to buy a car. I want you to imagine unlocking the car and climbing into that car and feeling your hands on the steering wheel. If your goal is to graduate, I want you to imagine getting ready for that graduation, doing your hair and makeup if you're a lady, getting on that gown and proudly walking across the stage. Imagination is an incredibly, incredibly powerful tool. Let's take a listen to this.
Ask the right questions.
Sorry.
And you'll get the best answers. A powerful question can change everything for you, especially if you're asking it to yourself with full presence. Ask and answer honestly, from your heart. Ask yourself these 3 questions every day, and you will live your best life. Number 1, what will they say at my funeral? This is one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself, and if you don't like the answer, you must do something to change how you live your life. It's not about living a life to please others, but the opposite. Being true to you by being 100% you. Speaking your truth. Living the life you believe is right. That is living by example. What is rare in this world is those who are authentic. Those who are brave enough to speak their truth and to follow their own path. Not the path that society or your loved ones think is best for you. Number 2, what is most important in my life and how must I act today to prove that? Everyone talks a good game, don't they? They say their family is most important, but always choose work or nightlife or something meaningless over their family. They say their health is important, but their actions show something different. They say they want a better life, but aren't prepared to do the work to achieve it. The inner work or physical work. If you know something is important to you, show it. Show it through your actions. Don't live in regret. Do not wait until it's too late to express how important someone is in your life. Do not wait until it's too late, only to look back and realize your priorities should have been different. And number 3, what can I be grateful for today? This powerful process will completely change your day and your life. A lot of people talk about gratitude, a lot of great people.
We're going to leave it there. So ask the right questions and you'll get powerful answers. So 3 key questions. What will they say at my funeral? What is most important to you? And what are you grateful for? And so I encourage you to do that exercise on reflection, perhaps this evening as you wrap up. And so think back to the start of 2024. Perhaps you started the year saying, this is going to be my year. This is going to be the year to soar in 2024. Really think about what are you proud of achieving? What challenges have you overcome along the way? Have you perhaps done your personal success list of the things that you've done this year? Perhaps you need to appreciate those things. Having a job, if you're employed, perhaps growing your career. Perhaps you took the first step and you signed up to study. Perhaps you're proud of your relationships with your kids or your family members. Perhaps you are feeling low in confidence and you just need to remind yourself of what you have done as opposed to focusing on what you need to do. Pamela, what are some of the things you're super proud of having achieved this year?
I'm super proud of being in a healthier place. I think sometimes we look at the physical achievements and we fail to look within ourselves. So I feel mentally, I'm super proud for mental health this year. I'm also proud for completing my studies and registering once again. I'm proud that I'm still standing, in the midst of all the chaos and everything that goes on around us. I'm still standing and I'm standing tall. I'm super proud of that.
So I definitely think that we've got to give a big round of applause to. Well done, Phumla. What an incredible achievement this year. Lots to be proud of. I'd love for you on the line to perhaps think about that. Engage with us on Menti if you want it to be confidential. Jazan, thank you for that. Congratulations. And perhaps even pop a little note in the chat function in terms of what are you personally proud of achieving this year? Because we would love to say, well done, congratulations. Sometimes that's what we need to hear in order to find that motivation, in order to finish the year strong. So I'd love for you to perhaps spend a minute and pop in the chat function, what are you proud of achieving this year? Before we take a look at what do you still need to get done, let's really have that moment to celebrate what you have done. So, Phumla, I'm not quite sure whether anybody has popped a message in the chat and perhaps said what they are proud of achieving this year. No feedback as yet. I'm proud of the fact that I'm nearly going to have all three of my children finish matric. For me, even though I didn't write matric, I'm proud of getting through that. I'm really proud of the fact that this year I've worked towards achieving work-life balance, which has been one of my biggest goals. And I achieved that simply by realizing I'm never going to get work-life balance. What I'm looking for is harmony, and realizing that when I'm at work, I'm actually doing something I really love. So being grateful for the opportunity to work in something that I love. So I'm proud of those accomplishments this year. Somebody is saying, proud of getting to 2024 without giving up and encouraging others while going through mental and work struggles. Well done. Although we don't know who you are, I think that is absolutely incredible. I'm proud of doing well with my modules that I'm doing. I'm being brave of doing anything I can do and following my passion. Following your passion is something really to be proud of. So we celebrate you. Nontando says, I've just registered for my studies. I'm super proud of myself. Well done. That's incredible. I've registered for my generic management and I'm uplifting myself. I'm investing in me. I'm super, super proud of you for taking that first step. So often we are spending our time doing things for others and actually not investing in ourselves. So while we celebrate that, let's also take a look at what do we still need to do. But before we get to that, Inkosana, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. Phumla Inkosana, is that correct? I hope so. I'm proud of my pronunciation. Inkosikona. You see, yes. I'm going to improve that. Inkosikona. I'm proud that I've managed to enroll to this course. I've been postponing it for 2 years. Well done, Inkosikona. That's something to be really proud of. So you avoided doing it for 2 years, you postponed it, and now you've done it. So I'd love for you to really think about, we can't do everything. We can't be everything. But what do you need to perhaps be focusing on? And this was the Eisenhower matrix that I chatted about earlier on when I was telling you about today's Wisdom Wednesday. And for me, this is vitally, vitally important. There are 4 quadrants to the Eisenhower matrix, and it really is this way of being able to prioritize what we've got to get done, right? And so there is things that are both important and urgent, and those you simply need to, as Nike says, just do it. Then there are things that are important and not so urgent. You need to schedule that. You need to create a plan for scheduling. If it's important, you've got to create a time and a place for you to do it. If it is both not important and not urgent, you need to get rid of it. You need to scratch it off your to-do list because you don't need to prioritize it. And then there's some things that are not important, but perhaps you shouldn't be doing it. So you might need to create a boundary and say, actually, I need to delegate this, or somebody else could do it, or perhaps you need to outsource it to somebody else, but you should not be doing it if it's not important, and it is certainly not urgent. So let's take a listen to this concept of the Eisenhower method, because sometimes a picture speaks 1,000 words. Once again, to check you're all still with me, please give me a thumbs up if you can hear this video.
Have you recently had the feeling there is more to do than you can achieve in a day, a week, or even a month? A good time management strategy solves this problem and can dramatically reduce stress and increase your own productivity at the same time. The Eisenhower Matrix by former US President Eisenhower supports you in prioritizing tasks by urgency and importance, and sorting out those less urgent or important tasks which you shouldn't do yourself. This results in 4 quadrants with different work strategies. We call the first quadrant the Do First sector, as its tasks are important for your life and career and need to be done today or tomorrow at the latest. You could use a timer to help you concentrate while trying to get as much of them done as possible. An example of a number 1 task could be a review of an important document for your manager. The second quadrant we call the Schedule sector, as its tasks are important but less urgent, and you should list those things that you need to put in your calendar here. An example of that could be a long-planned return to the gym. The third quadrant takes up things you could delegate, as they are less important to you than others but still pretty urgent. You should keep track of delegated tasks by email, telephone, or within a meeting to check back on their progress later. An example of a delegation could be somebody calling you and asking for an urgent favour or requesting you step into a meeting. Maybe you could delegate this responsibility by suggesting a better person for the job, or give the necessary information back to the caller and have him deal with the matter himself. The fourth and last quadrant is there to help you sort out and eliminate the things that you really shouldn't do at all. Discover and stop bad habits like surfing the internet without a reason, or other forms of procrastination like gaming too long, just to find an excuse for not being able to deal with important tasks in the first and second quadrant. And that's it. Give it a try yourself.
So I hope that helped you in terms of finishing your year strong. If it's important and urgent, do it now. Do it now. So that could be an assignment that is due now. You want to get that done now. If it is less urgent but still important, you need to create a schedule for it. So that would be, I know I've got an assignment due in January. I know it's going to take me 6 hours to do it. Where am I going to find those 6 hours in order to do that assignment? It is very important, but there isn't urgency. You don't have to do it today, but it's got to be scheduled in your calendar. And then things that are less important, you really want to, and less urgent, you then really want to perhaps look at, do I have to do this? Could I potentially delegate it? And then for me, the most important, those don't do's. That was what I was talking about earlier on, the scrolling, the mindless time spent, that I don't need to watch that Netflix show, or I don't need to scroll through Facebook. It is wasted time. It's not going to help me sleep better. It's not urgent. It's not important. It is potentially a time waster. So hopefully you all found that little Eisenhower matrix useful. And for me, one of the greatest tools I've used to manage my time this year that I'm really proud of is using a free app called Clockify. So it's free, it's available to you all, and it's a great way to manage your time and to actually see how long certain tasks take you to do. So I really personally have found that to be useful. So for example, when using Clockify, you switch on the timer, you say you're doing X or Y task. When you finish that task, you click stop. You're able to then purely focus on that one item. And chances are you'll find that you're far more efficient and productive, and you're able to finish strong. So whether it's your calendar, your to-do list, your diary, your planner, your organizer, a phone app, think about what you can do to manage your time, but remember those 4 quadrants. What is urgent and important? Do it now. What should you not be doing? Take it off that to-do list, get rid of it, and then scheduling time that is important. And so sometimes, it's difficult to say no. It's difficult to say no. And that quadrant, just quickly taking you back, those things that are perhaps less important that somebody else could do, how do you say no in a good way? Because when you're saying no, especially if you're like me, I am definitely a people pleaser. I have the disease of the need to please. I like to please others. I like to say yes to everything. But when I'm saying yes to everything else, I am saying no to myself. And so just like I mentioned, vitamin D being important, which is free, bit of sunlight, vitamin N is vitally, vitally important. So I'd really like you to perhaps share with me, do you struggle with saying no? Please put up your hand if you can relate to that. I struggle with saying no. Personally, Pumla, is it something you struggle with? Do you find it easy to say no?
Yes, I do. I do find
How
it
do you
easy to
do
say
it?
no.
How do you say no?
It comes with a lot of practice. You have to have an inner conversation with yourself first, because I think with a lot of us, you don't want to disappoint the next person, but you have to remember that by saying no, you're not exactly disappointing them, but you're saying yes to yourself. So it comes with a lot of practice.
So you weren't always good at it. It's something that you've had to practice. A bit like speaking a language, you've got to practice that language. Okay, so let's take a listen to vitamin N. Let me know if you can hear this. Whoopsie, my apologies. Oh dear, it doesn't look like it is. It is coming through very clearly in terms of that. Basically, vitamin N is that ability to say no, and reminding yourself that it is about self-discipline. You don't have to say yes to everything, because if you've got nothing left to give, remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So personal boundaries are vitally important. And if you're not good at saying no, you can perhaps say, and somebody asks you to do something and you're not quite sure whether you can do it, you can say, that sounds really interesting. Can I think about it and get back to you? As opposed to perhaps your immediate response was to say, yes, I'm going to do it. And then afterwards go, oh my goodness, I'm never going to manage to do it. So sometimes you can simply say no and not over explain. Saying no is a full sentence. So very often I have to remind my kids, I am not an ATM. No, they ask me for things and I say, I understand that you want A, B, and C, but unfortunately, no. And then you've got to keep quiet. You can't say no, but I can do X, Y, and Z. So you don't want to over explain, and perhaps remind yourself to set some consequences. So it's about this in the next sort of month of 2024, perhaps you need to also be realistic in terms of what you can achieve, and learn to say no to things that are not going to perhaps align to your goal. If your goal is to finish your studies this year, and you've got to invest time in terms of doing that, you might need to say no to some social functions and engagements. You might need to say no if you're prioritizing paying your studies. You might need to say no to Black Friday specials, because you have got your overall goal and priority is to complete your studies. And so finally, I wanted to touch on, before we wrap up, the importance of positive self-talk. That message of what we think and what we feel ultimately impacts what we do. But it all starts with our thoughts. What are we saying to ourselves? Are you saying something positive to yourself when you woke up this morning? Are you saying, I'm going to have a good day? Or perhaps did you stub your toe and go, oh, this day has started badly, it's going to be a bad day? Or you were stuck in traffic and you were like, oh my goodness, why does it always happen to me? Are you thinking positive thoughts or are you thinking negative thoughts? And if you are thinking negative thoughts, can you change those tapes? Can you perhaps rewrite those tapes and perhaps tell yourself that you're great? You know, I used to often say to myself, you know, I have to go to work today. I have to work. And now I've reframed it to, I get to work. I get to work. I am lucky enough to be healthy enough to get to work. And simply reframing that has really, really, really encouraged me on my journey to be a bit more positive about things as opposed to negative. Taking the T off from that can't and saying, I can because I have the ability to do it. And so finally, as you're thinking about the possibilities, think about, what do you really want? Think about painting that picture that we spoke about in our reflection. What do you really want to achieve? And while it's tough, and perhaps in some ways I'm still wondering about what I really want to be when I'm grown up, because it's tough. We've only got one life to live. And as that earlier video showed us, we can't live life with regret. What do I want to be? Because ultimately, I'm not a human doing, I'm a human being. And so think about what you really want to achieve. And if you're not quite sure, that's okay. Millions of people struggle with that question of what do they really, really, really want to be? What do they really want to achieve? But remember, it's not selfish to put yourself first. It's not selfish. And you can just imagine and think about the big picture and what you really, really want to achieve in your life. And so remember to perhaps think about what you love. Think about your strengths, what you're really good at. Think about what is important and urgent, and then simply do it. So I would love to see whether in the last few minutes of today's Wisdom Wednesday, ask you for any questions, comments, feedback. Pumla, I don't know whether we've had any questions on our chat, but I would love to just check in on that. We're going to stop recording in terms of the questions and answers, but we really hope for those of you who have to hop off to go to another meeting, we want to thank you for attending today's Wisdom Wednesday. We hope you found it to be valuable. And if there are any questions, I'd love for us to handle them now. Pumla, does anybody have their hands up or perhaps a question?
There's no question. However, there is a comment from Jabile. She says, or he says, I'm proud to get this class today. I got a good motivation. Bumi, thank you. And you gave me strong power to do my modules and forget about holidays.
Yay! Then, Jabulile, we have accomplished what we needed to accomplish. You're motivated. You're ready to finish that year strong. It's important. It's urgent. Prioritize you. I see Promise has her hand up. Promise, please feel free to unmute yourself and perhaps share your question if you've got a question. Perhaps, Promise, you just had your hand up to make a comment. I don't know. Pumla, are we able to unmute everybody?
I'm trying. I think she can
Promise
just
to
try and
become more
unmute
technically
herself.
advanced. Okay. Promise, can you unmute yourself? Otherwise, please feel free to pop your question. feel free to pop your question in the chat. Thank you, Mama Kadi, for your comment. Bongi, thank you so much. I'm glad we spent some time motivating you today. Ashley, thank you for your positive. We've revived your inner man. That's awesome. We wanted it to be positive. Once again, just a reminder that these Wisdom Wednesdays are free to all of Academy of York students. You can also invite a friend, a partner, a spouse. You can invite a colleague. You know, the more the merrier. We love to really encourage our students to be the best they can be in their lives holistically. So we really encourage you to encourage others to attend. And don't forget, if you are wanting to make a little extra money, you can also refer a friend to the college. If they choose to study, you would be able to earn, and they're successful in registering, you would be able to earn $500 in registration fees. So either credits to your study fees, which is a win, it's cash in hand, or if your study fees are already all paid up, you can actually get cash in full. So some wonderful opportunities for you to perhaps boost your income this year. A reminder to please share your referrals with your student advisor, or you can click on the link that we're going to send through to you. Promise, were you able to unmute yourself? No questions as yet. Thank you for all of your positive comments. The importance of self-talk, a comment made. I'm so glad you found today's session valuable. Really appreciate it. And I hope you're going to join us in January 2020 Thrive as we explore our new Wisdom Wednesday topics. Keep an eye on our website and on Facebook. Don't forget to follow us. That's the one thing you can do. Follow us on Facebook so you're able to know what sessions are coming up. Have a wonderful day and a phenomenal Wednesday and a great end of 2024. You still have a chance to soar. Take care. All the best. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, I'm so happy today because I've been looking for this opportunity to attend, but 2 months back I couldn't because of, this data, guys. It's very expensive. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy.